Thank you all for being here today. On February 21st at around 3 a.m., Fort Bend Sheriff Deputy Kenneth Lewis was on his way home from an extra job, traveling on Katy Freeway in the 13300 block, when he came upon two stranded motorists. Acting under the color of law, he stopped to render assistance. While doing so, he was struck by a vehicle, and the careless driver did not stop. HPD Vehicle Crime Division responded to the crash quickly and began an extensive search for evidence using license plate readers and canvassing surrounding areas for possible footage and witnesses. No leads were found. On February 23rd, Deputy Lewis was pronounced deceased. On March 9th, an anonymous tip was given to Crime Stoppers. HPD, in collaboration with the FBI, DPS, gathered additional information on potential vehicle and a suspect. Harris County DA Sean Tier and his office on March 19th signed an arrest warrant for suspect Dennis Xavier Acosta. On March 20th, he was arrested and charged with failure to stop and render aid and tampering with evidence. This joint collaboration with HPD, FBI, and the DPS was paramount in bringing this suspect to justice and also helping the family with closure and with a sense of justice. With me today are the FBI, HPD, and DPS, who did an outstanding job in helping to close this case and bringing this suspect to justice. At this time, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask.
Can you talk about, just real quick, just a moment, like Deputy Lewis out there acting on his own, like his personal vehicle. What does that say about his character, that he's going out of his way to help someone that was two people that were stranded?
Deputy Lewis, he represented all of the law enforcement. This is a career of service where you put yourself in harm's way to protect others. As I said, he was on the Katy Freeway at 3 a.m. and he saw these two stranded motorists. He was just leaving an extra job, but he acted under the color of law to help these motorists so they wouldn't be harmed on the freeway. And then he was struck. He represents all of us, something that I would feel any officer would do when he sees someone in need of help. And he gave the ultimate sacrifice, his life.
Can y'all talk a little bit about taking these suspects into custody, understanding it was done without incident, and just kind of talk about what you discover on his vehicle that led to some of these charges being filed?
I would let Chief Cephas from HPD, because him and the other agencies were paramount at that time. I wasn't there. My agency wasn't there. Chief?
Well, thank you, Sheriff. I actually let the lieutenant speak on some of the fine details
Lieutenant?
of that.
Yeah,
Come
okay. Yeah, I'm Lieutenant Harak with the Houston Police Department, Vehicular Crimes. Just quick rundown, you're asking about the arrest itself. The original arrest was done as a Class C violation because he was already developed as a suspect. And unfortunately, we did not receive a charge for the FSRA originally. So the investigation continued after that. And by last Friday, we were able to receive charges for the failure to stop and render aid and tampering with evidence. And then he was charged on those two charges.
So just elaborate a little bit on, kind of what investigators found.
Okay, yeah, originally, like you said, on the scene, there was no witnesses for us to develop a lead. There was a couple of car parts that we used to help narrow down maybe a possible vehicle, but it was just pieces of a car, so we couldn't really develop that at the moment. Really what helped us a lot was the lead that came in, and with the DPS and FBI, them, going through documents and license plate readers and whatnot, we were able to track down the vehicle. And then eventually we tracked down the person that was, driving the vehicle.
Can you share when officers are making that arrest, just kind of describe what's that interaction like with this
I wasn't on scene. I know it was without incident in the sense of he, was taken into custody, brought to our JPC facility. After that, I was there when we booked him in at the JPC for the next charge. So he was very quiet, and everything went as usual for an arrest.
And one thing that was, just kind of an act of symbolism is putting them in
Deputies, yeah.
handcuffs. I mean, just kind of talk about just the emotion behind that and just what that means for you to
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it means a lot for us to include that, symbolism into it, that, that it was his handcuffs that we used to book him into JPC with. It was just something that we could do to show support to all Fort Bend County, that, we did everything we could to make sure this guy was brought to justice. It was a long, almost a month drawn-out investigation to figure out who this gentleman was. So that meant a lot for our officers to show support to Fort Bend for that.
Failure to stop and render aid, can you guys describe that charge and what it is?
Yeah, basically, it's just when you're involved in an accident, you have the duty to stop and either exchange your information, but if there's an injury involved, you have to stop and render aid. Basically, you have to stop and maybe call 911 to get help to that person.
Do we know why he took off?
I don't have all those answers right now. It's still an open investigation that we have to button everything up before, it's presented in court. So right now, I don't have that answer. I'm sorry.
Investigator, before you step away, will you provide your name and title?
Yes, it's Lieutenant Michael Hroch. It's Hroch with Houston Police Department Hit and Run Unit.
For the charges specifically, currently, again, failure to stop and render aid, because you can't prove evidence, is there any indication or any push to upgrade those charges or conversations with the prosecutors about?
Right, yeah, right now, it's just what it is, the failure to stop and render aid. If you have questions about charges, you'll have to talk to the district attorney's office.
Even from like a law enforcement perspective, I'm not sure if you can share like,
Hmm.
from previous cases, or if there's like a push for a law for specifically if it's a law enforcement officer that's killed
Mhm.
while doing this. Is there any, can you talk about that? Like,
I see what you're saying. I don't have any information on that. That would be done through the legislature, but yeah, I can see the concern for that, sure.
We'll take a couple more questions.
One of the FBI can share, I know right now you also have people on
Excuse me, sir.
the ICE hold as well, or immigration holds. I know that the Department of Homeland Security commented on this being a suspect who's in the country illegally. Can you just share a little bit more details about that?
Yes, sir. First, let me start by offering our condolences to the friends and families and colleagues of Deputy Lewis. It's a tragic day. I'm not going to speak to ICE and the steps they took. What I'll say here is what you see up here was a collaborative effort to come to support our law enforcement partners. HPD has the lead on this case, and the FBI, team of FBI agents, is always going to come to help when our law enforcement partners need. So we'll leave that again. As was said, the investigation is still ongoing, but we're going to bring all of our tools to bear whenever we can support our law enforcement partners in the area.
How were you guys able to work together? How that work?
Look, we work together all the time. We have partnerships across this whole city with every agency you see here and many, many more. And so anytime there's a need that we need help from HPD or Fort Bend or DPS, they always come to help us, and we're going to do the same for them. And so these are long existing relationships here that go far back. And so it's never a question. Whenever the call comes, we'll always be there to support everybody.
We'll take one more question.
Can you just talk about the difference the anonymous tip makes, not just for this case, but just for any crime that y'all are investigating, how that helps in this case specifically, and how it can help in others?
It helps tremendously. We need the public's help in law enforcement. There's many more eyes than just us. So we work with the public, with Crime Stoppers. It was a big part. And just like Special Agent just said, this is a brotherhood. When one of us are hurt, we all hurt. We all hurt. So it was no question if we're going to come together and help. We do that already, but it's a special tug when one of your family members are hurt or injured. So we all felt that. They were here for us when we were in need, and we'll be there for them if they're in need. This, like I said, it's a brotherhood. We're here to protect the public. That's the main thing. Our focus is protecting our community, our county, and our country. And we come together as one unit. It's not HPD, it's not Fort Bend, it's not DPS, it's not FBI or Homeland Security. It's a brotherhood of law enforcement to take care of each other and to take care of the public.
If you don't mind, just, I know in the past month since Deputy Lewis died, what has been the conversation like with his family, and is there any message that you want to share to them or that they want to share with the public?
Well, it's a message that they want to share with the public and with law enforcement. They are very grateful. They are very grateful. We surrounded them with love and care, with all agency. At his funeral, it was represented by all agencies, just not my agency. There was a large influx of law enforcement agencies from all different agencies and departments there at his funeral.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank y'all for being here today. If you have any additional questions or needs, you can reach out to myself on that.
Thank you.